Hey guys, welcome to my Ocean One channel. I have 6,000 miles on our Ocean One. What are my thoughts after 6,000 miles? Let's find out. Alright, before we start, I think it's only fair to walk around the car and admire it. I think it looks great. I personally don't think that there is a bad angle on this car anywhere. I actually drove it around Lexington, Kentucky yesterday, and I actually had it cleaned up like I do now. And I couldn't believe the conversations that I started and the heads that I turned. It was a pretty fun experience, actually. People were pointing as they went by on the interstate, and it was pretty obvious that, they simply didn't know what the car was. So I've actually done all kinds of reviews on this car. I did a 3,000 mile review, a 4,000 mile review, and a 5,000 mile review with all kinds of different videos in between of everything that's happened, showing all the safety features. I've not held back on the Ocean. I've done videos over everything that's come up. And I would encourage you to watch those videos if you have a particular interest. Like yesterday, I did all kinds of videos over the safety suite of features while I was driving around Lexington, Kentucky. So I have those for you. But I want to start with the cons of this car. And there's not many. I don't know why reviewers tend to, give this car a bad name. It stumps me because the more you drive the car, the more you appreciate it. And I think that might be the actual problem. A person gets this car for a day or two. They're not familiar with it. They don't get to know it. And, maybe they don't know how to operate a certain thing, or something comes up and they don't know how to clear it. So I think that, that becomes its own problem in the review. So I hope you'll trust my review after 6,000 miles. So let's get right into the cons. All right, the first con is the key fob. I have found ways around this, but the key fob, when you press the unlock button, and I'm going to switch hands because I actually have a bad hand. When you press the unlock button, I just pressed it right then, and nothing happened. But if you count to 4, 1001, I could get there, and then press it again, it will unlock every single time. But the first time you press that, unless you have just gotten out of the car, or you've not been away from the car very long, it usually won't unlock. You'll have to count to 4 and press the unlock button again. Now, to be perfectly clear here, I do not have version 2.0 of the software. So version 2.0 is supposed to solve that. So what I usually do is I usually just count, or I use the NFC reader and I put it up against that. If you count to 4, or if you use the NFC reader, that works every time. But I would have to say that is a con because, we're just not used to that. And I actually came up with the 4-second rule. Other people came up with what they call the 3-second rule, but I have found that the 4-second rule works 100% of the time. Now, another con is this. Okay, right there. This car is supposed to have 4D digital radar, which is, the only car that I'm aware of in the United States that has 4D digital radar, but it's not active yet. So we still don't have adaptive cruise control. So I definitely find that a con because I love adaptive cruise control. And this car is supposed to be able to do all kinds of amazing stuff once that suite of features gets active, like park itself, change lanes, all kinds of cool stuff, but that's not active yet. So that is a con. And we knew that as Ocean One owners, we knew that those features would come in stages. But okay, I've had my car since November and I still don't have adaptive cruise. The other con is I lost, when I did a previous video, okay, I think it was my 4,000 mile review. If you can see this, you can see that mud flap, I called it a mud flap, but technically it's not because it's on the front of the tire. That's some type of aero flap. And that aero flap broke, made the awfulest sound ever was, and I pulled over and tore it off. And then, right at 4,000 miles, I remember now, right at my 4,000 mile review, this one did the exact same thing, and I tore it off. Now, I have reported that to Fisker, and I just actually did that recently. I was in no hurry. And they have ordered me those. And when I get those, they will come out and install those for me. Now, there's only one other con on this car, and I'm actually going to open it up for you. And that is the car currently has no voice controls. So even though it has its own telematics, like this car has its own cellular data, even though it has that, you still don't have voice control. So if you want to, let's say, use the maps, which are very good actually, and provide real-time traffic data, you have to type that in manually. And so until we get Alexa, which is supposed to be the update after 2.0, we have to type that in. So I definitely consider that a con. So those are all the cons that I have for this car over my 6,000 miles. So if those are my cons, what's my pros? Oh my gosh, I love driving this thing. I mean, I absolutely love driving it. It's very difficult to get the suspension upset. And look where I live, okay? I mean, I live on horrible roads. And this thing, it's not firm in the sense, that it's going to jar you when you drive. It's just sporty enough to really get a kick out of driving it. It's not real firm. I like to call it Baby Bear because it handles pretty much everything that you throw at it. The other thing that I like about it is just the absolute power. I mean, I've done videos on how fast this thing is and the passing power that it has, and I would encourage you to watch those. But the power on this thing is insane. I mean, it's got 564 horsepower potential under boost, and it is just a beast. It will squat and go, and I love that. So you don't have to plan for passing. You don't even have to think very hard about it. You just put it in fun mode. I usually drive in earth. You just put it in fun mode or hyper mode, press down on the accelerator a little bit. You have no issues passing at all. It's actually pretty fun. The next thing I really like about the car is just the looks. I love the looks of this car. You have this really cool solar panel on the top that actually provides, maybe 3, 4, 5 miles a day, depending on, what the weather's doing. You have this back glass that rolls down, and as a matter of fact, if you're not familiar with it, every window rolls down. Even the little 3/4 window back here rolls down. Of course, your regular windows roll down, but I did a video of our dog hanging its head out of that, so really cool. It's got big beefy tires on it, 22-inch Bridgestone and Lawton tires, and I worried about the tires because I thought that it would give too firm of a ride. Bigger tires tend to give a very firm ride and a harsh ride. But whoever tuned the suspension on this thing knew what they were doing, because those 22s are almost soft. I don't want to call them soft, but it does provide a perfect balance between a plush ride and, a firm ride. I like to call it Baby Bear. Other thing that I like is you have turn signals in the mirrors. You have cameras in the mirrors. If you walk away from your car, you know whether it's locked or not. If these are extended, it's not locked, okay? And it's got all kinds of little cool features here. Don't know if you can see those, but it's got a little surfer guy here in the handles. Got little surfer guys here in the handles. Not sure if you can see those in the sun or not, but it has all kinds of little hidden, features around the car. It has your high riser turn signal here. That way if you're driving by a truck, it's going to be able to see that, because the regular blinker is actually down here. That's your regular blinker. And it also has fog lights. You can turn the fog lights on. They will come on there if you turn those on. It has electrify your tow. If you can see that, the tow hitch is right behind that. Now, you might be thinking, how in the world do I still have a temporary plate? That's a story in itself, but I reckon it's on its way. And you have your backup camera, you have ocean, the ocean symbol, with the designer's pen and the architect's ruler. You have your digital rear view camera back here. So, this thing is full of tech. You got this really pretty light bar that goes across the front. I mean, just look at this thing. If you pulled up behind this and you couldn't get down and really look, you'd think it has exhaust. You really would. I've actually had people ask me what kind of mileage it gets. You know, gas mileage, of course. So as you go on around the car, you can just appreciate all the angles. Of course, you got another camera here, turn signals. You have your little arrow flaps here. You know, just trying to get a little bit better mileage. They're up here too. You have self-leveling headlights, and this lights up. If you would like to see any of this stuff that I mentioned, and I have videos on all of this. And then you have your sensors up here, your sensors down there. I'm assuming that's for the 4D digital radar. And then you have your front camera here. So I just think it's such a cool car. There's really just, I mean, the outside of this thing is just absolutely stunningly beautiful. Nothing to complain about at all. And while I'm out here, another feature that it has rain sensing wipers. That works extremely well. Here's your charge port. And if you don't know, Fisker and most automakers have worked out a deal to be able to use the Tesla network the first quarter of 2025. So that's coming then. All right, I'm going to roll all the windows down and then walk around it doing that. I went in to get the key fob here. Another feature is California mode. You just hold that down for about 2 seconds and check this out. Definitely one of its best features. Every window rolls down. You get this monstrous hole in the roof. And what I like now, I don't know how well you understand cars, okay, but it gives what I like to call the perfect balance between a convertible. I always wanted a convertible, but, you know, I live in Kentucky. How do you justify a convertible? But with all these windows open, you get the feeling of a convertible, but safety, okay? Right here is your A pillar, structure. B pillar, structure. You're going to lose that with the convertible. C pillar, structure. You're going to lose that with the convertible. D pillar, structure. So you have a perfect safety cage around you, but you're able to enjoy an almost convertible-like experience. Okay, I'm going to get my wife out here, and I'm going to sit in the seats and get her to video that so I can show you the space of the vehicle. I'm 5'9". I want to show you the space. My dog's come to visit me here. I want to show you the space that the Fisker Ocean has. Got my wife recording just so I can do this for you. Now, I have this set up where I like to drive. I hold the steering wheel right here, or, you know, if I'm out on the highway or something, I may hold it down here. So it's got really good hand grips, you know, if you're just lazy driving, you know, maybe on the interstate, you know, nothing around you. You know, hectic driving, you know, up here, of course. But I want you to see the space that I have. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm 5'9", I weigh roughly 210 pounds. I'm going to get out and I'm going to sit in the back and show you the space for where, you know, I have the seat adjusted for myself. So, let's go back there. So, look at the space that I have behind here. I mean, look at the feet space. I can actually show you. I'll move over to the middle seat. I'll flip this up. That's limo mode right there. Flip that up. I'll scoot over to the middle seat. You know, you could easily fit 3 adults back here and have plenty of room. Now the seats, if my wife will get this, these seats right here are mechanical. They adjust, okay, with power. So, you know, that's a pretty cool feature. Now my daughters really enjoy being back here. We have a Mazda CX-9. It's a 2021 Mazda CX-9. And they love it back here. They think that this is a much better alternative for that. And while she's recording, you've got your air vents here for the rear passengers. And then you have your USB-C ports here. And they're good and hidden. You know, Really like that. Very cool. Very well thought out stuff. Now something else back here. These are motion lights. I don't know if my wife picked that up or not, but when you rub your hand by them, they go off and they come on. They're motion sensitive. You know, there's so many little cool things in this car that's just very cool to appreciate. Who thinks of motion sensor lights? In this material, as long as I'm talking about it, this is Alcantara, or Alcantara, however you're supposed to say that. I was worried about these seats, but I'm telling you, these seats are great. They're not hard to keep clean. They're probably the easiest seats I've ever had to get clean. Come over here. Right here, when you do this, there's no seams in the seat. I mean, like, when you vacuum this out, it's just like so easy to get clean. And that reminds me, let me talk about the driver's seat. I'm going to go back up here because I actually have back issues. I've always had back issues since my early 20s. And if my wife could record this, I want to show this right here. Hey, Molly, it's okay. You can see you don't have a lot of adjustments with this seat. You know, like you don't have lumbar support. You don't have certain tilt features, you know, that some cars have. You know, you have your basic power seat here. I was concerned about that because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to find a comfortable position in the seat, especially without lumbar support. But what I learned about these seats are the design of the seat is much more important than the adjustments of the seat. This seat's perfect. Perfect. It's got the perfect arch. And when you find your place to sit, unlike leather, you're not sliding around, especially when you're driving or in the curves or slouching. You just stick. Wherever you are, you stick. And these seats, they don't get hot, not in the traditional sense. And they don't get cold, not in the traditional sense. When you get in this car, it's just baby bear all the time. The seats are never hot. The seats are never cold. Very good system. Show the utility of the Fisker Ocean. Now, one thing that I really like is you can do that. So if you have passengers in here and you want to lay down a long item, you have the option to do that. Or let's just say you need more room. You fold that one down. Of course, if you need more room than that, fold the other one down. Now, while my wife's recording, I'm going to show you some other things here. You have storage up here. Now, I keep all kinds of stuff up here. I'm kind of the person that I like to have backups for my backups. So, you know, tire pressure gauge, pair of gloves. I can fix a flat with a plug kit. Got an air kit, got a boost kit, got a towel, because you know you're going to get dirty if you're doing stuff like that. Something else you should realize is this will actually lift out. You can remove all of that. This will come out. This whole thing here is a fold flat deck. So this makes it flat. But all of this can actually come out. You can lift all of this out and have all of this opened up. Now, something Fisker did that's really neat is so you don't want to get your bread, you know, mashed all to pieces. If you see these little hooks here, let's say you want to hang something here like a grocery bag and you don't want your bread to get smashed, you can hang it there. Now, as long as she's recording, I'll also show you this. You've got a power outlet here. The Ocean currently does not use its cameras for recording. It's my understanding that it can do that. It will do that in the future. And you also have a regular outlet here. We've actually used this when we've lost power in the house for a little bit. Okay, and that reminds me of another feature that's currently not active. If you'll come up here and keep recording. The Ocean has what's called power bank. Eventually, once this gets active, you'll have bi-directional charging. You'll be able to charge another Ocean if you want to, or you could actually plug a device into this and power your house. So you can use the massive battery in this Ocean to give your house backup power. Pretty cool indeed. My wife's willing to help. I'm going to show you how to remove this. I mean, it's really, really simple. Just gravity basically holds it in there in a few little places that hooks it. So you can actually take that out. And if you want to, you can actually take this out as well. You can take that out. So if you were, let's just say maybe you were going on a long trip and you needed the additional storage space, or you were buying something big and chunky and you needed to get it in here, that actually frees up quite a bit of space. You have a lot of space down here for storage. You have pockets here for storage and pockets there for storage. And while my wife is videoing, I'm going to take the camera from her for just a moment. And you have this massive doggy bone in the rear hatch that most people probably never pick up on and probably never notice. There's all kinds of hidden things throughout this. So the storage in this thing is very impressive. Let me walk around here. Let me walk around here and get it from the other angle. So I'm gonna show you from the other angle, okay? And if you're wondering back there, that's just stuff I had in the back, so I set that out. So my wife will come back. I'll show you how easy it is to put that stuff right back in there. Nothing to it. So that just goes there. And then the fold flat cargo cover just goes right back in there like that. Nothing to it. So the storage, the utility on this thing is pretty awesome. And if she'll point the camera down here, I didn't point this out earlier. This Ocean can tow 4,000 pounds. So, it's got quite a bit of towing power, and the power on this thing is amazing anyway. So I'm in the car and I'm actually sitting in the back, and I just want to show you this massive solar roof. Okay. I mean, look at that. Oh my gosh, how large that solar roof is. It's just amazing. It is such a great place to be back here in the back seat and just be able to look up and enjoy what we have. And I think sometimes we forget what we have. That's very cool. Kind of reminds you of what's out there. Beauty. Just absolutely beautiful. Okay, so you do have two glove boxes under each seat. Okay. You have one under the driver's seat, and you have one just like it under the passenger seat. You have two USB ports where the taco tray is. I have rotated the screen here, and I put it on a real quick clip of Mr. Bean, just because he's so funny. And, this gives you something to do. Okay, another thing is just the interior is laid out fantastically well. These seats, super comfortable. They just look so good. I get nothing but compliments on this vehicle. Everybody that looks at it just thinks, oh my gosh, that car is amazing. And, I don't brag. I don't like to brag. But, it's kind of hard to argue with a vehicle this special. Just how good it is, how well it's laid out, how fast it is, how well it drives. It's a very cool vehicle. And I've done videos over pretty much everything, okay? So I'm not going to go over the software or anything. I think most people are familiar with this stuff. This is your taco tray. I found 1,001 uses for that. Once you get used to that, it's really hard to go back. I'm going to walk around to the passenger side. Oh, and of course you do have a power button for the trunk, okay? And then you have this tray. My wife likes that. She sets her phone on it quite often. It's just a little bit dirty. I mean, we use our car. I didn't clean that when I washed the car. So that goes in there instead of, your traditional glove boxes. Now, you have all kinds of storage here. You have storage down here. I'll move my tape. My $5 off Dollar General coupon. Yeah, I like coupons. You got storage here. Now, one thing I like about this is all rubberized. This car is super quiet. So all of this down here, I can leave that there and drive. Don't rattle, okay? Everything's super quiet. You've got your 2 cup holders here. You've got your 2 wireless chargers here, okay? And then, of course, you have this gargantuan screen. And, you know, I hope the sun's not fading that out too bad. I'm going to walk around the driver's side and show you some other features. So, let's get in here. And I'm going to close this. Okay. Ain't that cool? Okay. I left all the other windows open, but I closed that so you could get a better view of this up here. Now, one thing that my wife and I really liked a lot about the Fisker Ocean is that it has physical buttons. I can't, you know, stress enough how much we enjoy having physical buttons. Now, of course, you have this big screen, and the screen works great. The cameras work great. You have this digital camera, works great. You know, you got all these great features. You've got this sun visor. That's a 2-piece sun visor. You know, let me zoom that out just a little bit. Okay. You know, it's like Fisker dramatically improved every sun visor that is out there, unless you want a bigger mirror. The mirror is kind of small, but you know, works great. Most of us use phones for stuff like that now, and I like that it's got a, you know, screen behind the driver's wheel. You know, say like Tesla does not. That drove us nuts. It didn't have any physical buttons. That drove us nuts. You know, heated front seats, heated back seats. You know, I'm not going to go through all the features of this car like that because I have done so many other videos on that stuff that I just don't think it's, you know, appropriate for this video. And you've got your front camera. Let's see. Did I ever press that button? Okay, there we go. You got your front camera. You have this split view camera, which at first I'm like, you know, okay, what purpose does that serve? That is really cool. When you're going around like a drive-through and you're worried about hitting the curb, press that button. You know exactly where you are. Very cool. You got your backup camera. And then you have your side cameras. And of course, you can put that on either side you want. And then you have the 360-degree camera. So if you're worried about something that might be around you, you can always press that and make sure that nothing is in your way, something that you might run over, you know, something that you might be worried about. This car is just incredibly cool. So I'm going to stop right there and just give you my final thoughts. Okay, what's my final thoughts on the Fisker Ocean after 6,000 miles of driving? I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. And I just can't compliment Fisker Henrik enough on designing this car. It's, you know, it's not the fastest, even though it's super fast, crazy fast. It's not the most sporty. It's just like Baby Bear. It's like the perfect balance to enjoy getting in this car and driving it every day as your daily driver. It is my daily driver. I drive it every day. If I'm not driving it, my wife is driving it. If my wife's not driving it, I'm driving it. This car gets driven 7 days a week. So, very cool indeed. Now, if you have particular, you know, questions about this car, maybe over the software, maybe over the safety, I have done all kinds of videos over that. So, you know, if you just check my YouTube channel, I'm sure you can find those videos. So, and if you have questions, just reach out to me. I have found that owning this car comes at, you know, a small learning curve. I think people that maybe, you know, get the Ocean for just 1 day or 2 days or 3 days tops and they do a review over it, I don't think under any circumstances that they can do this car justice. It's so different. It's so new. And once all the features get active on this car, like the 4D radar, I just think that, you know, it's such a standout. You've got California mode. You've got your taco trays. You've got, you know, world-class screens. I mean, it's such a joy to drive. And I love passing up the gas stations. You know, you never have to stop at another crummy gas station again. And it's got 3 modes. I never mentioned that. You know, that's something that pretty much every reviewer, you know, does and knows about. If you don't know, it's got Earth mode, which is 2-wheel drive, unless, you know, you just really hammer it. And then it's still unclear when all-wheel drive kicks in there, because it doesn't tell you. But I actually did a test in the snow, and I could not, under any circumstances, get the rear wheels to engage in slow speeds. Okay, you know, front tires would spin. And then you have you lose the front wheel drive because you put it in fun mode. When you have fun mode engaged, it's just so fun. I mean, this car turns, you know, from kind of a lazy driver to, you know, it's going to scoot when you press down on the accelerator, and that turns it into all-wheel drive. And then, of course, you have hyper mode, which is, you know, it just unleashes the beast. And that's why I've never used a boost. I see no purpose in using a boost. You know, probably 0 to 60 in this thing is probably very, very low 4s, you know, in hyper mode. Probably, you know, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3 seconds, somewhere in that neighborhood in hyper mode. It is just, you know, you press the accelerator and you are gone. And I don't know if I mentioned it as I'm, you know, summing this up. This car is super quiet. The build quality on this thing is superb. There's not a rattle. There's not a squeak. There is nothing in this thing. You know, and it's so quiet. If there were, it'd probably drive you nuts because it's just so quiet. It's just such a fun car to drive. So if you have the Fisker Ocean on your list as a potential candidate for, you know, an electric vehicle, I would strongly encourage you to check it out. And if you have questions, just reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help. All right, guys, thanks a lot, and I hope you enjoyed my review. And if you have questions, just reach out to me, and I'll help you the best that I can.